Dads. Sometimes it feels that way, sometimes it doesn't. We are super glad that you are here tonight. I knew I was the MC all of like Sunday afternoon. I knew I should have gotten to the car quicker, but I didn't. I got stuck, and Stevie and Carson were like, hey, by the way, you want to MC the whole thing on Tuesday? It's like, sure, no problem. So imagine if I'd had a whole week, we'd have had smoke and lights, and we'd have had a real legit intro. Everybody needs a good walk-up song, right? So I'm going to go through some slides, potentially. I have a very small idea of what we're talking about. I am a member of this church and have been to all of these Strengthening Dads classes, and I got to say, they've been amazing. I've actually taken them and applied something. I try and find one or two things, and all meetings that I attend, I'm always looking for like one or two things that I can take, because that's about as much as I can comprehend. And this stuff works. I've seen some real successes in how I've been able to parent. I've got a 8-year-old named Chandler. I've got a 6-year-old named Staten, and I have 2 5-year-old twins named Palmer and Ainsley. So I've got 4, so I fully qualify as being a dad and being able to MC. They are amazing. They are so much joy, and I'm pretty sure they're trying to kill me. Especially the twins. I mean, there's something about twins, like they band up. And they come after you. They do. There's a thing. So, and then, you go through seasons. The 8-year-old it's something else. So I can't wait to hear what we're going to get into today. Real quick, no slides, great. There's going to be slides. No, there's not going to be slides. You're supposed to know a bunch of dates that you don't know. We're going to get through that. I think the next one, if I remember correctly, just real quick, some housekeeping, is February 17th. Yes. Same time, same place. We realize that there are a lot of different versions of dads or going to be dads here. You may have older kids. You may have grandkids. You may have 1 kid. You may have 77 kids like Chad. All of that is a great reason to be here. We are glad that you're here. This is a place that we're going to talk about successes as dads, failures as dads. Parenting is hard. So I think sometimes, we get caught up as dads thinking that we're alone or that we're just doing certain aspects of it wrong. And the truth is, we all are. So what I love about this place is this is a place that we can celebrate our successes. I feel like sometimes, you can be almost too humble about being a good dad. It's okay to say, man, I'm a good dad, or I was a great dad today. And that was really hard for me for a long time. And then sometimes we can get way too stuck in just all the stuff that we're doing wrong, or all the things that we need to be doing better. Usually our wives are pretty good at reminding us of those things. And, they're usually not wrong either. So we usually like to do a couple of just kind of successes and failure stories from some different dads in here. I can start with a lot of successes. I'm obviously in the Hall of Fame. That's why the music follows me around. One success of mine was I came home from, it doesn't matter, somewhere the other night, and I walk in, it's about 6 o'clock, and my oldest son, the second that he sees me, usually I get hey, Dad, bunch of big hugs, especially with my little daughter. She's pretty good at making me feel pretty important and special. And actually, my oldest son, Chandler's the most affectionate. He's the one that wants to jump up and give me a big hug. And Dad, I love you and I miss you. And the second we made eye contact, he just turned around and ran into the other room. And I was like, that was kind of weird. And then I can hear him crying. And I go back there and I see my wife kind of go tell him. And he comes in and he just melts. He's like, Dad, broke your camera outside. And I was like, you know, and I'm thinking like it's 12 feet up in the air. Like, how did you break my security camera up on the house? And he goes, well, I was throwing rocks at it. I can be a little hot. I can get a little fiery. And like, my inner Chad was channeled. And like, I had this just crazy calm. Like, to where it was freaking me out. And I was like, you threw a rock? Like, were you aiming like at the tree and like pulled it? Or, and he was like, no, I was aiming at the camera. I went, oh. I said, well, let's go look at it. So we walk out there and I'm like, yeah, you got it. So let me get this straight. You were picking up these rocks and you thought, I'm going to throw it at that camera. And he was like, yeah. I go, well, how many times did it take you? And he was like, I got it on like the second try. And I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And so, and I mean, he's still really sad though. And I go, man, I want to tell you, I'm actually really proud of you. And he was like, what? I go, you could have not said anything, and we probably wouldn't have known for a long time, and I probably would have blamed it on the yard guys. And I said, and you immediately came and told me. And I said, that's really great. Like, I really appreciate that. And he was like, oh, so I'm not in trouble? I said, well, Daddy didn't say that. I said, that's not what I said. I said, you know, the camera is broken, and somebody's going to have to pay for it. And I said, so what do you think should happen? And he kind of looked at me, and we talked for a second. I said, you know what? I actually don't need to answer right now. Why don't you think about it? Why don't you pray about it and ask God, like, part of when we do something wrong is making it right. Like, how are you going to make this right? Because the camera's broken. I was like, you got it good. And so then he went to bed that night, and the next day he came in and he said, well, I've been thinking about it, which shocked me, that like he didn't just think it was going to go away. And he said, I think, and they're so into football right now, like it's nuts. It's awesome. But it's like nuts, like how obsessed they are, like with their little cards. And Dad, who does this? And how many is and who's the best of the best? Who's the best this and who's the best that? And he said, I don't think I should watch any of the football games this week. And I knew one of them was like his favorite game. And I said, you know, dude, I think that's kind of a harsh punishment. I said, how about Dad gives you a little grace? And I said, you know, we all get grace from God. I get a lot of grace from God. And I said, and I really want you to know how proud I am that you didn't try and get away with it, and that you came and you talked to me. Because we're kind of struggling with like he's just not feeling safe to come talk to us. And so something about the repair and all the stuff that you've been talking about, it's like, man, his heart is so soft that like I didn't want him to have a punishment, and I wanted him to experience the grace that comes with just like when your heart's in the right place. And I mean, he was the greatest kid all weekend. You'd be like, you know, clean up your dishes. You'd be like, okay, like what else can I do? And you could just tell it really meant so much to him of like he can do something wrong, and it doesn't mean that he's going to have such a harsh punishment and always get in trouble. So that was one of my successes. On the failure side, a little bit, nobody told me how long I'm supposed to do this, by the way. Instructions, few. Okay. It's 2 minutes for a failure. Perfect. That's great. Well, Thomas, aren't you supposed to get up here and talk about all your failures? Other Thomas, the bad Thomas? No? Is he even in here? 2 minutes? Come on, buddy. I'm not going to talk about my failures when you can talk about yours. I'm the success guy. That's what happens when they give you the mic first. See how everybody needs a walk-up song? You see that? Come on, clap a little.
Thank you, Thomas. All right, so they asked me to do this about 2 months ago, and public speaking is not my thing at all. So it takes a lot for me to get up here and do this. So I took some notes, and hopefully this makes sense and helps someone else out here. First off, my name is Thomas Gist. I am a member here at CFC and father of an 8-year-old boy, Rhett, and my daughter is 12, Reese. And yeah, so this holiday season, my daughter came to my wife, and she said I had to ask her a question, and that she really needed to talk to me about it, but she wanted to run it by my wife first. So they called me in my daughter's room, and they wanted me to, I guess she just kind of went straight to the point and said, I know the elf on the shelf, you do all of it. And I was just crushed. I didn't even know how to react, so I just kind of paused, took it all in, and she said, I want to help you this season and bring that joy to Rhett. So I took some time. I said, let me think about it, and I'll get back with you. So that night, I just kind of prayed about it. Thought it was just a big turning point, a lot of emotions. My daughter's growing up, and just a lot for me to deal with. So I went to her the next morning. I said, I thought about it, and I think you're ready for this, but it's very magical for your brother still, and I don't want him to lose that. So you need to. I need your trust in this, and there's nothing that can happen that he can do that you can ruin this for him. So she promised that she could keep the secret and help, and so it was she was definitely mature enough for it. So all season she helped me, and we had such a good time setting up the little the little events that were going on, the adventures, and putting out little treats for him, and it was such a magical time for the two of us, and so I guess my biggest takeaway from the whole thing was, I let some control go, and I guess it was replaced with trust with my daughter, and the protection that I felt to kind of guard her, kind of created like a little partnership. We had something new in this new chapter for her. So. So that's just something I thought I'd share with you guys again. Hopefully that helps one of you dads out there in some way.
Thank you, Thomas. And Thomas.
That was awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. It takes a lot of courage to come and do that.
Okay. Thank you, guys. It takes a lot of courage to come up and show your failures and successes with guys that you don't really know. For those of you that I haven't met before, my name's Chad. I'm one of the pastors here, and I'm not a perfect dad. We don't have a perfect marriage. My wife is not a perfect mom. We do not have perfect kids. Some weeks, you watch my kids, and they'll make you think, why is he up there teaching this class? And then there's other weeks you watch my kids, and you're like, they should write a book on this. They've got something going there. I like to say 50% of the time, I think we nail it. And Kristen and I do some really good stuff in our parenting. And I think 50% of the time, we fail miserable more than miserable. We're looking at each other going didn't know we could parent that bad. Okay. And that's, I've come to learn that's parenting, right? You nail it and you fail it. And we're grateful. We don't have perfect kids, and we're kind of glad about that. Our kids are messy. They're different. They're out there, but they're awesome. And so we have 6 kids, those of you who haven't met. We got 2 boys, 15, 17, 2 girls, 11 and 13, and then 2 little boys, 9 and 6. And so we stay pretty busy, and I'm pretty much ready to go back to bed by 7 a.m. But it's okay. We're figuring it out. All right, so if you're new and you haven't been with us, real quick, we started this whole journey, with me trying to put an idea in your head about 3 things, okay? And those 3 things are love, fail, and repair, okay? Love, fail, repair. And that is God's secret sauce to the universe for all relationships. Whether you're dealing with your wife, girlfriend, significant other, roommate, colleague, boss, your mailman, your Amazon guy, your secretary, the dynamic that God wants for us in every single relationship we have is love, fail, repair, okay? Well, and if you've lived long enough, you realize the world or life begins to teach you that maybe it's like love, fail, write people off, or love, fail, judge people, or love, fail, and abandon, or love, fail, but you're on one strike. You get two more, and I am done with you, right? And the reality is the more you listen to hear God's heart is, no, I want your dynamic to be love, fail, repair. I want you to love people. It's going to fail, and when that happens, I want you to go all in to try to repent, reconcile, and try to repair it, okay? And one of the things we talked about is that your kids don't need a perfect dad. They need a good enough dad, okay? They need a dad who's willing to say, I'm going to try to love you. They need a dad who's openly going to admit he fails, and he'll continue to fail. And they need a dad that when he fails, he's going to jump in, and he's going to be willing to repair. He's going to be willing to say, I was wrong, I blew it, let's repair this, let's figure out how to fix this. And what's super cool is the research matches God's wisdom. And I told you about a British researcher, D.E. Winnicott, who studied this, right? And he studied for just a ton of years. These kids grew up, marked all the parents. He went to all the parents who scored perfect, and all their kids turned out weird. All their kids turned out awkward, like the kind of people you don't want to spend time with. But then he went back and looked at all the kids who turned out amazing. Like they turned out like awesome, healthy, well-functioned adults like you'd want to be around. And what he noticed is all their parents were failures. So he was fascinated. So he goes on back and he meets with them, and he starts talking, with the parents and the kids, and he finds one thing in his research that stood out with all of these kids who turned out to be amazing adults. And here's what it is. They all had parents who tried to love them. They all had parents who failed, like they got angry at their kids, they fought in front of their kids, dad slept on the couch, mom blew her top and threw the dishes. I mean, you name it, they did it, but they had one thing in common. These parents would always go back and repair it after they failed. Isn't that amazing? And what he found was your kids don't need perfect parents, they need good enough parents. They need a dad who's willing to go, who humble himself and go, I blew it, let's repair it. And the research actually matches God's wisdom for how God designed relationships. Okay, so that's what we're looking into everything. And then we started to look at this idea of we're trying to build in our kids roots, and then we're trying to build in them wings, okay? Right, that our goal is to get these little gangsters out of our house and get them off our paycheck, right? And get my wife back one day. And so roots are, think of a tree. We're trying to help them grow really secure in love, really secure in identity. So we're trying to build roots in them so they know they're loved, know they're secure. And the thing I always try to say is we want to build kids that have roots. And that means, like, your kid could walk in this room tonight and be like, there's a lot of men in there. And what we don't want is that kid walks in and is like, oh, man, I bet they're not going to like me. I bet they're not going to find me cool. And they just take off and leave. That's a kid, that's an adult who's never got the roots they needed. We want to raise up men who come in this room and go, there's a lot of dudes in here. A lot older than I thought. A lot younger than I thought. And I bet half of them don't like me. And I don't really care. I kind of know who I am, know where I'm going. And I'll just start talking with one by one until I find a few that kind of fits. That is a kid who's grown into a man who has roots. He knows who he is. He knows his identity. He's secure. He does not need you to come in and give him an identity here, and he has it. If you're with me, say amen. Cool, okay? And we're also trying to grow wings, okay? And that is, we're trying to help this kid grow strong enough to leave your home. We want them to be able to have strength. We want them to be able to have submission to authority, go weak. Right? We want them to know how to process pain, right? We want them to function in God's world. So we're also trying to figure out how to get them out of here, okay? And get a couple 100,000 back. Now, the way we do this is we've talked about two things, okay? Love and limits. That the secret sauce in between these, in all parenting, in all stages, is love, fail, repair, circles everything, trying to grow roots, build wings, and we do that by loving them, trying to build connection, relationship, engagement, and setting limits, learning how to discipline them. If you're with me, say yes. Okay. That's the big model, okay? That's what we've been working on. And so what we're going to go to tonight is we're in the last part, hopefully, of looking at is what I call teaching your kids about relationships, engagement, and connection. And last time we looked at the little years. Tonight we're going to begin to look at school-age kids, 5 to 12, and then we're going to look at adolescents, 13 to 19, okay? It's the season of life where you start dreaming about owning stock in Uber so you can get them out of there 3 days a week, because adolescence will kill you, okay? And so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to jump into those two stages, and we're going to look at what do they need in those stages from us, right? What do they need in a lot of relationships and all that kind of stuff? But before we do, there is a tool that I've been wanting to give you for a couple weeks that goes along with this. And this one, I want to make sure I get it to you before we forget about it. Because our big thing, if you're new, is each week we try to give you principles that you can figure out how to apply universally, and then tools, okay, to go alongside of it. And so the first tool I wanted to give you before we jump in is one of the things that God says in his word, okay, is do not exasperate your kids, okay? One of his big commands is fathers, do not exasperate your children, right? And the same applies to moms. And that word means not to unnecessarily push your kids to anger, okay? Not to unnecessarily provoke your kids to anger. Function in such a way where you're not thoughtless, you're not unaware, that's driving your children to anger. This is a big thing for God, okay? And one of the primary things that just stops love and relationship engagement is a culture and a home that is exasperating, okay? Now, it's tough. Hear me when I say that, okay? But we've learned, Chris and I have learned a couple tools along the way that have kind of helped us with this, right? The first one I want to give to you tonight, and I really, really encourage you, mark this one down. This is a practical one, and that is family rules and family values, okay? Family rules and family values. When I start working with a family, I find one of the fundamental first things that's just causing this family to go 15 different directions is this understanding of what are the family rules, what are the family values. Now, let me paint a picture for you. How many of you, man, have a job? Or ever had a job? Okay, just kidding. All right? Now, imagine you go to work somewhere, okay? And there's a regional supervisor, there is an area supervisor, and a direct supervisor. You with me? Okay? So you come in and you meet the regional supervisor, and he has a set of rules, he has a set of expectations, and a set of values. That's number one. Then you get to know your area supervisor, and man, you spend some time with him, you're like, oh man, this guy's got a completely different set of rules, a completely different set of expectations, a completely different values. Him and the regional manager are not on the same page. Well, then you get your direct supervisor, and your direct supervisor is 50% rules, valuing expectations of one and 50% of the other. So you start going to work here, and this is when you say things like, oh, this place is toxic, right? This place is a disaster. Why did I ever come to work here? I can't please everybody. Nobody's on the same page. I do this for boss. I do that for boss. He gets mad. Have any of you ever worked in an environment like that? None of you? Okay, a few of you have. You get it. Is that fun to be in? It's a disaster. And you're quickly going, I need to get my resume out. Welcome to what it's like for most children growing up in a home, okay? Most children grow up in a home where they're going, oh, there's dad's values, there's dad's rules, there's dad's expectations. There's mom's rules, mom's values, mom's expectations. And they think they're on the same page, but they're not on the same page. And I've learned I get grounded if I tell them they're not on the same page. And it doesn't go so well for me, so I'm just going to kind of shut my mouth and be sneaky, right? One of the things I find is most families, most marriages are not on the same page and they don't even know it, okay? And so what I want you to do, this is an easy thing, a great exercise that yields just tons of results, okay? I want you guys to take a minute, not tonight, but this next couple weeks, and I want you to write down what do you think your rules are, okay? What are the rules you think you have for your kids in your home? And what are your values? What are the things that you expect, okay? Then, if you have a significant other, I want you to go to her and I want you to ask her the same thing. And just say, hey, honey, what do you think your rules are? What do you think our rules are? And then if you're really feeling giddy, ask her what she thinks your rules are. You tracking with me so far? If you're with me, say oorah. Okay, good. Then, if you got kids old enough to talk, I want you to go to your kids, each one by one, and I want you to ask your kid and go, hey, what do you think dad's rules are? And what do you think dad values most in this life? And I want you to just write them down. Don't defend yourself. Don't get mad at them. Just write the list down. Go to each one. And then you're going to take that list that you have, you're going to take that list that she has and the kids, and I want you to take a look at it. What do you think you're going to find? What? Different? What else? What do you think you're going to find? Any thoughts? Yeah, patterns? Yeah, you're going to find more than likely, okay, a culture that's creating exasperation and you didn't even know it. Because everything is just all over here, okay? And that's pretty normal, okay? What I want you to do then is I want you to take a step back. If you're a single father, then you can kind of work through this, what it's going to be like there with you. Some guys have the ability to go back to their ex-wife and say, hey, I'm working on this. Can we talk about this? Sometimes it works, and guys, sometimes it's hard. Those of you who are married or have a girlfriend or significant other, then you want to sit down and just go, okay, let's look at this list. And I want you to start to really think through and go, what is it we value most? What is it that's most important for our home? And I want you to begin to decide on what are the 4 to 6 non-negotiables of the rules we want in our home that will reflect the values that we have. Like when our kid's 18 and leaving home, what do we desire that they're going to own in here as like a value and a rule for their system? A few things is less is better, okay? If you got 10 rules, you got too many. I think I'm going to suggest to you, if you got 8, you might have too many. The goal is you want to try to keep it around 4 to 6 or 4 to 7, okay? And what this becomes is once you get it, okay, you're going to start talking with your kids once a week. Like we probably do once a month. Like we'll go around and go, what are the family rules, okay? If you want to, there's not much of the inheritance, but if you want to stay in it, you better be able to name them. And we make the kids tell us, and then we make the kids tell us what they mean, and we talk about them. Now, where that helps us is now I know our rules. She knows our rules, the kids know our rules, and we have a deal. If you don't break one of them, you don't get disciplined or punished, okay? You got to break one of those to get disciplined and punished in our home. So let's say, Knox, who is my knucklehead, he's like his dad. Let's say he goes and does something, and it was wrong, whatever, but it didn't break one of our family rules. We're not going to ground him. We're not going to punish him, okay? We're going to coach him, all right? In our home, we pretty much only discipline them and punish them for when they break one of those. Now, in our home, I'll tell you ours. It kind of helps you to kind of think about it. Is our 5 are this. The first one is honesty. And we say we expect you to be truth tellers and we expect you to be wound givers. Okay? And what that means is, in the Proverbs it says, an enemy multiplies kisses, but the wounds of a friend can be trusted. And so that means, so I tell our kids, I'm like, those guys or those girls who are always like, oh, you're so awesome, you're so great, you're so amazing, like it's everybody else's fault. Those are people to be afraid of in your life. Those are your enemies, the Bible says. It's the person who's like, hey, Colin, man, I know you want me to say it was somebody else's fault, but dude, I love you, and I think you need to see this. This was your fault. Here's why, because I care about you, right? I'm willing to wound him because I care about him. That's what the Bible says. So I tell my kids, you need to wound each other. We expect you to tell each other hard things because you love each other and you have each other's back for your long-term development. That's honesty. Second is care, okay? And that is, we tell them we expect you to put others before yourself, to take care of yourself, take care of others, to protect others, to speak it and to show it, to give encouragement and be willing to help. Third is respect. We expect you to value yourself, to value your stuff and your time, and we expect you to value your siblings' stuff, time. We expect you to value people, their places, their possessions, their preferences, just like you do. Our 4th one is responsibility. We expect you to master your preparation and do well what you must do or need to do for the sake of yourself and others. And then our 5th rule, and this one kind of always surprises people, is our 5th rule is repentance. We expect them in our home, we expect you to repent. And we tell them, we expect you to fail all of these. We expect you to get all of these wrong. We expect you to blow it and make mistakes. But in our home, we expect that when it happens, that you're going to admit you're wrong, that you're going to repair it, and that you're going to forgive it. And I'll never forget, the first time we were going through this, and one of my kids was kind of sharp on the fly, and she's like, I got an objection. I don't like that rule. I was like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, I just think that one's a dumb rule. She's like, I think this is like your whole pastor guilt thing. I just think this is you trying to bring religious, in our home, and it's just not needed, and I don't really like it. And the other 5 are like, Yeah, we're kind of with her. Yeah, we don't like it either. We think it's kind of stupid. And, and it was a really good dad moment. I looked at her and I said, your pregnancy was a mistake, so you don't even get a voice at this table, okay? I didn't say that. Thought about it, okay? And, but I looked at her and I was like, you know what? That's good. She's like, so tell me why this one happens. She's like, you can't force us to Jesus, Dad. I was like, yes, I can. I'm a pastor. And I just said, no. I said, okay, here's the deal, babe. I was like, spiritually, I can't force you to do anything. What you do with Jesus, it's up to you. Okay, whether you repent with Jesus, that's fine. I can't control spiritual, but I can control human-to-human movements, and I will. And I said, Mom and Dad believe that all humans are sinners and we're broken. And Mom and Dad believe that humans flourish most when they're willing to repent, own, and repair and apologize when they do things wrong. So in our home, the human-to-human expectation is when you blow it, you make it right, that you ask for forgiveness, that you own it. I think that was amazing what Thomas's son did. That is exactly what we want. Like, yeah, he did something. He's trying to be a boy and be like, man, I think I'm like an MLB baseball player. Like, it costs you money, but, you get it. And if he's willing to come and own it, like, that's huge, right? You think about how many homes we grew up in that none of us could tell our dads the truth. I mean, we were terrified, right? So, anyway. Then the kids were like, all right, we get it, we bought in. So those are our 5, okay? Now it's kind of cool because, like, they'll do something foolish or dumb, and I'm like, that's it, you're grounded. And my older ones have started to think through this, and they're like, hey, Dad, that wasn't a family rule. Like, do I really have to be grounded for that? And I'm like, you're right, that's a preference, that wasn't a rule. I was like, let's talk about that, right? And so what's good now is they're knowing, like, we're trying to figure out how to be consistent. The family kind of has some shape to this. Are you tracking with me? Real quick, any questions about that before we move on? Okay? Put some thought into your family rules, work on it, and see what you got. Yes, Mert.
You guys, as a community, right, come up with those family rules? Do you have a mentor to help guide you with it? Do you get resources besides Bible?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, obviously, different Bible passages through the years, it meant a lot to us we were thinking about. I think I've told you, Chris and I are one of those couples. We just do a lot of reading about parenting books. When we see a good family, we go and interview them. We spend time with them. We say, teach us about what you've learned. It's just kind of something that we did, when we first got married in our 20s. And I think just through a collection of years, like her family system growing up, mine, we did the same thing that I just had you do. I wrote down mine, she wrote down hers, and we were like, oh, man, we're Mars, Venus. We asked the kids, and it was just comical. I mean, we weren't even close, right? It was hilarious. I mean, I think we got 2 right, like believe in Jesus. I'm like, you can't name that one. We're a pastor's family, of course. But I did the same exercise, and then we just came back, started praying and really thinking. And I think it took us like 3 or 4 rounds. Like, we were like, no. And then the last one, we're like, if our kids grow up owning these 5, we can go be with Jesus and we're happy. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I was just going to say that, obviously there's like God's rules, but your rules kind of encompass, like, there's things, you just think about, like, what kids are likely to do. That does not mean any murdering, but, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so your rules, like, the respecting one might cover stealing or...
It does. That's exactly right. We tried to think through as best we could, broad principle. What they don't realize is those 5 rules cover about 700 things, but they ain't smart enough to figure that out yet. The 17-year-old is. The 17-year-old's like, this whole family rule thing, we're set to fail. You realize that? And I was like, yeah, I know. That's why we created it that way. So I do think that was part of the process, is we kept trying to think through broad principles that apply to a lot of things, because I wanted them to think like that, and I wanted to give me a lot of bandwidth to ground them. Just kidding. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions on that? And you can always email me, text me, or bring it up later. All right, we're good on that? All right. Okay, jumping into school-age kids. Remember the principle we talked about is when somebody says, oh, you get me, oh, you're with me, they translate that, you love me no matter what, right? When somebody says, I get you, I am with you, it's translated, I love you. So you can be somebody like, man, I love you, champ, to your 12-year-old boy. Or you can be like, I love you, sweetheart, to your 14-year-old girl. But if she doesn't think you fundamentally get her, if he doesn't fundamentally think you're with him, it's like, they ain't hearing I love you. They're hearing something else, okay? And that's what we've been trying to work on. So now we're at the school-age kids, early childhood development, 5 to 12 years old. And remember what we talked about, that love is trying to figure out how to love somebody and get them is asking, how do I try on their world for a minute, okay? Well, for school-age kids, it's an exciting and scary adventure outside the family for the first time. You got to remember, between 5 and 12, most of them have just been in your walls, in your family, in your grandparents, and that is like so safe. Now, they're in this like scary thing that's like they've never seen before, never been around. Second, for the first time, and this is the real big one in this age development, is they're tuning into just how unideal life really is. Between 5 to 12, they're for the first time starting to figure out that life is painful, life is disappointing. They start meeting bullies. They start getting left out of invites and parties. They start getting made fun of. They start not being liked. They don't get invited to a new sports team or club team. And all of a sudden, they start figuring out, man, life ain't that great. And it's big for them at this stage. And the common response by kids here is they do a lot of complaining. This is when you start hearing, that's not fair, this isn't fair, his dessert's bigger, her ball's newer, I hate our minivan, it's so lame. Like, seriously, you couldn't outthink people, you only got a Tesla, right? They say all these kind of things. You have no idea, you're a clueless dad, right? They say things like, life stinks, they stink, I'm no good, I suck, I can never play, I'm horrible. This is the stage that's common if you hear this. Don't freak out. This is normal for this age because of the two things I told you. Now, why? Their whole life, they've basically been told they're awesome. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, they've basically been told they're awesome. And now they're learning life isn't awesome. And for the most part, they're learning, man, I don't know if people are awesome. And this is huge for them, okay? This is just them tuning into the fact that life isn't always good and life is disappointing sometimes. The good side of this is how God begins to help them make sense of pain in the world, okay? It helps them learn how to metabolize pain, deal with disappointment. It's starting to get them to figure out being let down and rejected in life. Dads, in this stage, okay, your kids are going to need two big things from you. And this you want to mark down. The two big things they're going to need in terms of love and connection is they're going to need our relationship with them to help them build strength to take on challenges, meaning in this stage, we have to empower them in their challenges, and we got to help them make sense of badness. We've got to help them make sense of all the badness, and we do that by empathy and hardships, okay? So between 5 to 12, one of the big things I'm locked in on is how can I empower them in their new challenges, and how can I show empathy in their hardships, okay? How can I empower them in their what? Challenges. And then I want to give empathy in there. Good, you're with me. All right, let's break that down and talk about what that looks like. We're going to become like Jedi Master Knights with mind tricks with them on this. All right, empowering them in their challenges. We focus on helping them see that they're strong enough, that they are strong enough, not us, to face the little challenges they're going up again. Again, we start seeing kids go in and out of anxiety. Kids cry a lot for no reason in this stage. Like a buddy early in here was like, my kid was just crying, we went hunting. Like, yeah, it's like normal at this stage. When you think about it, you start realizing they're just constantly going in and out of fear, irrational panic, and again, from 5 to 12 in their small world, it's a gigantic, scary, unknown thing out there. And they're just hyperdrive sensing it. They are just experiencing the yuck of life in an unfair life. And at times, let's just be honest, dads, this is really annoying and aggravating. I mean, you're just like, seriously, again, right? It flat out feels ridiculous because it is to a 35-year-old adult who's already past this stage, okay? Now, what is so key is you got to keep remembering that as they're walking through this, you have the tools and the experiences to know what to do with this. But I don't care how smart, how sharp your kid is, I don't care if you've coached them 4 times on this issue, they do not have the tools to know how to do it, how to handle this and process this. Their frontal lobes are just not developed. And so it's like 2 days ago, you coached them how to deal with their sister who's punching them, right? And they're crying. It happens again, and they have no clue you gave them any instructions. That's pretty normal at this stage. And you're constantly starting over. Now, the challenge for most of us guys, especially in us and especially with our wives, is the modern cultural moment tells us just go be their friend. Just go be their buddy. Just go try to be their BFF, right? And I'm telling you guys, that is not what they need. I can tell you in my home, I confuse my kids a lot because I'm one of those dads who works really, really hard at trying to build a relationship, engagement, love, connection. And but I commonly have to say to them, oh, you went a little bit far. Dude, I love you, but I ain't your friend. I'm your father. Like, honey, no, I'm not your BF. I'm not your BFF. No, I'm your dad. My kids are constantly trying to say, you're my friend, you're my buddy, my dad's my BFF. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. No, I'm not your best friend. I'm not your best friend forever. I am not, I will never be. I am your God-given father, okay? And my kids are like, well, I thought you loved me. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm telling you this. Now, here's why this matters, okay? It feels good when you're having that level of connection, and you got to fight your insecurities on this. This is where my union with Christ, this is where my relationship with Christ has been transformative for me. In my moments where I'm vulnerable and low, and I want my kid to think I'm a hero, this is where the love of God has given me strength that I do not have in myself. Here's why this matters. When somebody becomes a best friend, they have zero authority in your life. Let me just say that again. Even a 6-year-old understands what a 45-year-old knows. Best friends don't have authority over each other. They have a connection with each other. When a kid starts to think and says, you're my best friend, you have lost the authority in their life. They fundamentally start relating to you on a different expectation and understanding. That's why all the researchers like, whoa. Connection, relationship, love, but you're not trying to be friends or buddies with them because you have to keep that peace that you are an authority in their life until they hit 19. One of the best things I ever heard from Andy Stanley when we were young parents is he said, listen, from 0 to 5 is the discipline stage. You're teaching them there's a God and they ain't it, right? And that you love them in the process. And he said, like from 6 to 12, you're doing the training stage. You're training them, you're pouring into them. He said from 13 to 18 is the coaching stage, right? You're trying to let go. And he said from 19 to the rest of the days they die is the friendship stage. And he said one of the biggest problems that he sees in families is they flip those. They try to be their friends, and now they spend the rest of their time trying to get their thing back together to kind of flip that. Discipline, training, coaching, friendship is what you want with them as adults, not when they're a teenager or a young kid, okay? Now, so we got to reject our insecurities. We got to keep that line crystal clear for us and for them. The need is what they need is they need dads who say something like this. For example, let's say they're dealing with bullying. Oh, you got bullied today, huh? Man, dude, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry about that. You want to tell me about that? What was it like? What happened? Why were you afraid? You know, you listen, you do some questions, and then you kind of begin to roll and go, listen, I got news for you, pal. Like, welcome to the club. Bullies aren't going anywhere. You're going to have bullies the rest of your life. You're going to have bosses who are bullies. You're going to have neighbors who are bullies. They're just not going anywhere, champ. Life can stink. But I want you to know that I love you, and I want you to know I think you can do this. I think you can stand up to this bully. Or, you know, sweetheart, I think you can stand up to her. I see something in you that you don't see in yourself, and I know you can do this. And I'd love to show you. I'd love to help you. But I'm not going to solve this for you because I know you can, okay? And they'll weep, they'll melt down, they'll cry, they'll say extreme things, they'll say mean things to you and others. They will tug at your heart to get you to fold. And guys, you got to play the man. You have to play the man, and you have to find strength in the Lord to lead them, even they're going to try to keep pushing you to fold. And when you do, when you fail, repair. You go back and go, hey, I gave into that. I was insecure, but I need to redirect. We're going to kind of go back to this, and I think you can do it. I'm not going to do it. One good example is nightmares, okay? It's big in this stage, right? And they'll come in, and they'll beg to stay up late. They'll beg you to stay up with them. You know, they'll beg to watch TV at 2 a.m. because if they go to bed, the nightmares are going to be there. And then they'll beg to crawl in your bed. And I'm telling you, guys, I mean, it's like they're trying to relate to you and say, Mom and Dad, please bail me out. I'm so small. I'm so weak. I'm so scared. You're so strong. You're so big. Please be my hero. And guys, you've got to look at them and go, no. You're strong enough. I know you can do this. You got this. And I'm going to empower you to beat this, even if this means I need to disappoint you right now and not let you get in the bed with me, not watch TV at 2 a.m. My 9-year-old, Adam, is my most tender-hearted boy. And he has dealt with nightmares probably more so than any other ones, right? And we had a hard phase with him from 6 to 7. And we had to just do this. And he finally beat them. I mean, it was like awesome. And I remember the day when I was like, dude, you did it. Man, you whooped the tail of them big bad monsters in your dreams at night. And like Jesus came around you and he's like, yeah, I did. I could sleep all night now, Dad, right? You know, and his little 6-year-old brother was like, you're the biggest, coolest brother ever, right? But, you know, and it was empowering. Well, literally, over Christmas break, his sisters, who are 11 and 13, are watching Percy Jackson. He's like, can I watch? I'm like, yeah, sure. Sure enough, 2 a.m., you know, he is in tremor nightmares. The next morning I see him, he's just off. And he's kind of like shaking, kind of off a little bit. And I'm like, you okay? And he's like, nope, I'm good. And I could see he was like embarrassed. I could see he was feeling shame. And I could, you know, and I was like, well, dude, what happened? He's like, they're back. They're back. And I was like, who's back? That thing I beat. I was like, I was like, oh no. I was like, your nightmares? He goes, yep. And because we talk about strength and we talk about empathy in our home, he's just trying to be strong. I could see it. And it was hard for me as a mother. And I could tell he was embarrassed. He's like, I beat this, and now I'm back in it again. You probably have seen this on your kid's face. You know, so I snatched his little rear end, right, and held him and said, tell me about it, dude. And so he's just, you know, going through all over it, right? Now he's just in it. And we had to do it all over again. We're working through it again, right? I'm having to empower him, talk through it. I'm trying to, like, empathize with him. And these nightmares in these phases come and go. But, like, especially when it came back for the second time, man, it was everything in me to just be like, dude, you and I are staying up all night, and we're going to watch, like, the best episodes of, like, Bugs Bunny and, you know, but I had to be like, no, you can do this. I know you can do it, but it was really, really hard. In this stage, you're envisioning, you're looking at somebody who is powerful, but they don't know they're powerful. Dads, if you're a visionary leader, or if you've never have been and you want to be, start praying for it. This is where you have to have a vision of how strong that little girl can be. How strong that little boy, you've got to see it. It's got to be crystal clear for you, and you have to fight for it, even though they're not ready to fight for it until they eventually buy in and believe what you see that's in them. In this stage, you are casting vision over and over and over and over again. Some kids catch it fast. Some kids it catches 5 years, right? One of my kids was in a bad lying phase in this season of life. And it took 3 years of me grabbing that kid in the face and saying, you are a truth teller. I don't care who you think you are. I don't care how you think you're always going to be a liar. I was like, but you are a truth teller, and you are my boy, and I know it. It's in you. You're a truth teller, and one day it's coming out of you. And it took 3 years of me just going face to face going, you are a truth teller. You are a truth teller. That's your identity. I see it. One day you're going to rise up to it. And after about 3 years, that boy finally believed it. And the story began to change. Okay? Now, there were a lot of bad experiences in those 3 years, okay? But the point is, Kristen and I together were like, well, here's the vision, here's the vision, here's the vision, and we're not letting go. And after 3 years, we're like, I don't know, maybe we're wrong on this. You know, but and that's where we had good people that mentored us that said, just keep holding the line, okay? Now, if God has your kids in the root stage, when you try to empower them, you coach them, you rationalize, and it just works, right? The kids accept it easy, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. So, like, they'll say there's a monster in the closet, and you're like, sweetheart, monsters are always on TV. Let's look at the closet. They're not real. And when they're in the root stage, they're like, yeah, there is no monster. And they just go to bed. But then one day, all of a sudden, something begins to shift. Some of you dads know this. And all of a sudden, they're like, whatever it is you say, all your coaching, your answers, everything you're doing to empower them, it just stops working. And all of a sudden, you find all these things that were like, man, this works. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, this is useless and powerless. It's like grabbing a TV remote, and you're trying to turn it on. Nothing's happening. You're banging it, right? And all of a sudden, the remote is just useless. And you will find no matter how much encouragement, you can't fix it. It doesn't help, doesn't solve it for them. Reasoning can't help them. It's just, and I see a lot of dads really, really, really go into insecure mode in this phase. they just start feeling like a failure. This is where I see a lot of guys start flirting with the secretary. This is where I see a lot of young dads start working double hours, because all of a sudden they're like, I've got no purpose in my home. What I try to tell my boy, he doesn't listen. When I try to tell my girl, it doesn't do anything. Everything I say is, well, but this or but that, or you don't know what you're saying. And I can tell you guys, this becomes a window where it can really begin to mess with your heads and mess with your hearts. I've seen it. I've experienced it. Like recently, my 6-year-old, we're there again, monsters in the closet. I was like, dude, there's no monsters in your closet. They're only on TV. And he's like, you're lying. You're flat out lying. I was like, what do you mean I'm lying? He goes, Dad, we talked about this at dinner the other night. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, you talked about monsters at dinner. I was like, no, I didn't. He goes, yes, you did. He goes, you came home from meeting with a missionary from Indonesia, and you told us all about how this missionary has casted out demons for 10 years in Indonesia, and that demons are real, and spiritual warfare is real, and this person's casted them out. See, there's monsters in my closet. I was like, oh, this is going to be a long night. Oh, this is going to be a really, really long night, right? He is now reasoning, and no matter what I say, it ain't going to help him. Now, when you get there, that's a gift from God, and here's why. When they start doing that, but, God's ready to begin to grow them wings. God's about to take that kid to a whole nother level of their development. And this is when you have to double down on empowerment and go, all right, look, you're right. Monsters exist in the world, but there's none in this house right now. And I know you are strong enough. I know you can find a way in the power of the Lord to sleep through the night and battle back. And I know the Lord is with you. And I want you to know I'm right down the hall. And I promise you, I will fight those monsters if they come. But I know you can do this. And they, guys, it gets really, really tough in this stage. I mean, it's like everything you're saying, like nothing helps, nothing comes through. And you just kind of find they're firing back. Now, the question is how do we comfort them or help them when they really have this realistic helplessness where nothing you can do or say reasons their fears away? And it's really simple. Guys, you watch for opportunities of their anxiety and you empower them. You show them they can be strong. You treat it like anything else in life, guys, where you put thought into this, you think through scenarios, you think through answers, you take some time to prep and go, okay, like if they say this tonight, like here's kind of where I want to go with this. If something hits and you're clueless on what to say, just look at your kid and say, hey, give me a day or two. I need to think through this. But I know until then, I know you can handle this. I believe in you. I know you can beat this. Again, like nightmares at night, all of a sudden nothing's helping. You just have to say, dude, I know you got what it takes. You can do this. Good night, son. And then you leave the room. They're crying. They're melting down. And you got to resist going back. And you just got to pray. And you got to let that kid begin to grow wings. And you walk away while they're in tears. They're still melting down. And you have to ignore them. Trust me, they're going to be okay. And when this happens, listen, guys, this is not where we all of a sudden cave and go, oh, no, I'm so sorry. Man, you poor little thing. I feel so bad for you. Come sleep in my bed. Come cuddle with mommy and daddy. That's not what they need. They need a dad strong enough to go, you got this, dude. Like one day you're going to be a Marine. Like you got this. One day you're going to be a husband. Like one day, like you're going to like work at a bank. Like you got this, dude. Like, or sweetheart, one day you're going to be a mom and your kids are going to lean on your strength. Like you got this, okay? This isn't at 1 a.m. where you go, you know what? We're going to go to Waffle House and get some dad time. One of my good buddies, this was a couple months ago. He's from back east. And he calls me, we're catching up, and he goes, Turner, I had the best dad moment. I said, what'd you do? He's like, nightmares, and he said, middle of the night, I had this Cameron idea. We're going to Waffle House, son. We're going to go hang out and beat these monsters. So they go to Waffle House. Tells me about the whole thing. He's like, what do you think? I was like, that's your worst idea ever. And I was like, I love you. That was bad parenting. You shouldn't have done that. And he's like, whatever. I'm so tired of you being a pastor. Just be my friend. I was like, I am being your friend. That was a bad decision, and you shouldn't have done it. And so we're going at it, and we played ball together, so we just hang up the phone. Calls me a month later. Hey, you doing anything? No? I need some help. I was like, oh, really? What you need some help with? He's like, I was like, let me take a guess. Your kid's now waking up 3 to 4 times a night more than they used to. Uh-huh. I was like, and let me guess. They're coming up with more and more things that they're afraid of. Uh-huh. I was like, and let me guess. Every time they do it, they're going, hey, Dad, we should go to Waffle House. Mm-hmm. He's like, I hate you. And I was like, yeah. I was like, because, dude, You rewarded that child with a reward you shouldn't have rewarded, and now that child's going to go, oh, this is great, I like this, let's do this. You don't do that. Or when they're afraid to go to school and you say, hey, you go to school, we're going to go get donuts and celebrate, don't do it. That is about us. That is not about them. You hold the line and go, sweetheart, you are strong, you are mature. I know you're afraid, and I know you were crying when we dropped you off, but look at you. You went and you did it. How does that feel to know you did it? Or sweetheart, look at what you conquered today. You were convinced everybody was going to make fun of you because you had a pimple on your face. And you went to school and you made it and you got through the day and you got an A in your quiz. How does that feel to know you did it? Do you see the mirroring? Okay? You're constantly trying to empower them and mirror they did it. Showing them they used their wings and it feels good to do it. Again, no treat needed, no reward. We don't get rewarded for doing what we're supposed to in life. Let your affirmation that they accomplished it be the reward. Are you with me on that? And I'm telling you, it becomes powerful. Another example is, this is a good one. Our family likes Chick-fil-A. Any of you like Chick-fil-A in here? All right, a few of you are real men. That's okay. And our family, we love Chick-fil-A sauce. And so this happens a lot, actually. We'll go, we get a Chick-fil-A sandwich and Chick-fil-A sauce, and we'll sit down and there's no sauce. And the kids are like, I've got to have Chick-fil-A sauce. So I'm like, go knock yourself out. Walk up there, get it, say thank you. They'll say it's my pleasure, and everybody's happy, right? And they'll be like, no, I can't go. It's too scary. And so I'll say, all right, how's the deal? You go up there and ask for the sauce, and Daddy will watch you the whole time. No, I can't do it. I'm too afraid. Okay. Well, how about I walk with you up there, and you ask for the sauce? No, I can't do that. I'm too afraid. Okay. How about we go up there together? Daddy asks, you watch, but next time, you have to ask. All right, cool, let's do it. Yeah. And the kid thinks they won, right? Okay. Then you go 2 weeks later, right? Same rodeo, baby. And they're melting down, and they won't do it. And you just go, hey, remember? We had a deal. I believe in you, and it's your turn. No, I can't do it. Okay, no Chick-fil-A sauce then. And then you hold the line. You hold up your end of the deal and say, I love you. And if they start whining, pouting, crying, go, oh, stop, hold on a second. If you whine and pout, you're not going to get any food. You just get that good old filtered Chick-fil-A water. It's your choice, okay? And then they start whining, pouting, go, oh, thank you. The rest of the family gets more, and here's your filtered water. And then you come back next time. No sauce, you made a deal, and you just hold the line. You get yourself out of it. You get your emotions out of it. Now, what I want you to see in that example is, okay, that you're modeling I am with you. At the same time, you're empowering them. You notice that you're giving them good, healthy discipline and limits, but you're getting your emotions, you're getting your anger, and you're just going, listen, I could care less, amigo. It's your choice, but it is going to be your choice, okay? You're helping them push through to autonomy and healthy independence. Remember this phrase, and I really encourage you to write it down. Don't bail, let them fail, and then make the sale. Don't bail, let them fail, and then make the sale. You must learn to let God's process of growing people up play itself out. The fail has a purpose. God uses it to grow wings so that they can leave one day and find their place in the world. Now, I know one of the biggest questions you men are asking, you're always asking, is when do I step in? Man, when do I step in and help my kids? I want my kids to know that I'm with them. When do I step in when there's a bully? When do I step in when they got cheated at school? When do I step in and the coach isn't seeing their talent? And here's the answer, okay? Guys, you step in after they have tried. You step in after they keep trying, after they took you up on your empowering, and after they did it or they kept trying to do it, and it was obvious this one wasn't going to get anywhere. After they have taken you up on empowering, they've done it, then you step in, and you step in for one purpose, to seal the deal, to make the sell. And here's what you're selling them on. You're selling them on, it feels great that they were strong enough to try it or do it. That is when you step in, and that is what you're trying to sell them on, right? There was a bully, they couldn't handle it. Finally, they made their attempt to do it, and that's when you step in and go, dude, you did it. You went after it. Now, it didn't go so well. You tried. Let's go have a meeting with the school. But you see the difference there? You waited, and this is hard. Is this easy? No. But this is where you've got to have a strength outside of yourself because they need it from you, and then they'll learn and they'll grow it in themselves, okay? All right, so let's pause on that first one, empowering them in challenges. Questions, things that came up. Anything you want to ask about the empowering and the challenges before we get to empathy and hardships? Yes, Ted. Yeah, when do you step in? Yeah, so your kid's struggling, your kid's falling apart, your kid has a challenge. And you're asking his dad, like, man, when do I step in and help them? I want them to know I'm with them. I want them to know I'm for them, right? And you're just going, should I step in? Should I not? Okay? What I've learned is don't bail, let them fail, okay? And then make the sale. And what I mean by that is while they're in the failing, that is not when you step in. You keep coaching them. You keep empowering them. You keep encouraging them. You keep telling your wife, hey, it's okay. We got to keep empowering them until they're willing to take a shot and fight this because they've got to learn they got strength, okay? Now, sometimes, eventually they work through the failure and then they jump in and they empower, they try it, they do it, okay? And if it goes great, great. Sometimes they eventually try it, they go and do it, and it doesn't go well, and it's just obvious from wisdom it isn't going to get any better. But they tried. They jumped in. That's when you jump in, okay? And you jump in first and go, let me sell you on the fact you did it. You tried. You were strong enough. You went after this. Now, it's not working, so we're going to help you a little bit. But you don't jump in while they're failing or while they're resisting you empowering them. You wait until they take an attempt to take you up on the empowering. Does that make sense? Tracking with me? Yeah, Brad?
So the thing I've encountered with some of that is then if you're on a timetable, like say, I don't know, you're trying to get to church.
Yeah, good call.
And my kid is, we'll say, resisting the idea of tying his own shoes.
Yes. What do you do?
Oh gosh, my tendency is to very frustratedly tie.
Yeah, that's right. Can he tie a shoe? Does he know how?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where you just go, all right, it's your choice. But, we're going to walk up there, and I hope you don't trip and fall. And you let it be until he's willing to take a stab at it. And then I've had that, and I've told the Sunday school teacher, hey, I love you. He's going to beg you to tie that shoe, but do not tie that shoe until he does it. He knows how to do it, and I need you to support me in this and don't give in. He's got to learn. And you're just kind of willing. Part of parenting is you're willing to look dumb, and you're willing to look bad. And we've done that. Like, my kids have gone to football practice with no cleats, and the coach is like, where are the cleats? I was like, you need to ask them. That simple, right? Yeah. Does that help? Yeah, fine with me. I love it, right? I hate preaching in shoes as it is, so I'm with them, so we can do it. But, it's just little things like that. You got to hold the line. Sometimes it's not as simple as tying a shoe and you're in a public place or something, and then, you have no options. And in those, you go, hey, I love you. I'm jumping in, but I need to let you know there's consequences when we get home for this one, okay? Not because I'm mad at you, but because you've got to learn there are things we do in life and don't do. And, that's how you handle those when they hit, okay? But if you can, for the most part, let it go, and it doesn't look right, let it go until they learn.
Yeah, I think where it's that balance between, your rule of responsibility and the same rules, like where's
Yeah.
across the line between you not being responsible to try.
Yes, yeah. Are you asking or just saying?
I'm asking,
Say it one more time.
where does it cross that line of the responsibility to try being something punished?
Try one more time. I'm almost getting the question.
Okay, so they have a responsibility to try.
Yes.
When does them not enacting that responsibility become something that should be?
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Yeah. He's saying okay, when they just keep refusing not to take you up and empowering and keep refusing not to try, when do you discipline them? Is that what you're asking? Right. Yeah, and I think it kind of depends, right? Like if it's chores, if it's schoolwork, things like that, things that carry a public privilege or things that carry a responsibility to others or a part of the home, obviously then you're going to limit them. But when it's things like dealing with a friend that didn't go right, when it's things like tying their shoe, by and large, if it's things that aren't generally affecting others and you can just keep letting it go, like Chick-fil-A sauce, right? It's not, you let those go and you don't want to limit discipline those, right? But not upholding they're part of the family, not upholding what they're supposed to do in school or society, that's when you step in and limit them, okay? Anything else on this one, or we jump in to the next part? Good? Okay, so we empower them in their what? Challenges. Okay, good. Next one is, and this one was the hardest one for me. And I find this is the one that's really tough for most men. And this is the second thing they need is empathy. That they're learning to be with them in their pain, learning to be with them in their disappointments, their fears. Remember, when you try on the world, they're tuning into how unfair and how hard life can be, okay? And guys, yes, they need tough you. Let me say this again. This is one of those ones where, guys, I'm asking you all, look me eye to eye. Yes, they need their tough dad. But they've got to have a tender dad too. Yes, they need their tough dad, but they have to have a tender dad too. And men, as you're forming your idea of masculinity, if tenderness and gentleness is not in your definition of masculinity, let's go get some coffee, and I promise you, give me an hour and I'll prove it to you, okay? We can start with Jesus. Jesus had the strength of a lion, but he had the gentleness of a lamb. So the greatest God-man that ever existed, his masculinity was full-blown strength, toughness, and full-blown tenderness, gentleness. That's what a man is, yes? Now, I know sometimes it don't feel like it, but your kids need to see a tough, strong dad, and they also need to see a tender, gentle dad. This is a big deal. A dad willing to repair when they fail to give them the empathy they need. Again, not being their buddy. Now, the way this comes out is 3 ways to handle their meltdowns, their challenges, and their fears, okay? And that is when they're having this like irrational anxiety, when they're melting down crying, when they're falling apart, when they're saying these things, there's kind of 3 ways we handle it. The first is we kind of blow it off. And this is Chad 101. Yeah, like this is my default, unfortunately. Like where I say things like, my word, you can't cry about everything. You know, can't be sensitive all the time, dude, right? Or come on, grow up, stop being so touchy-feely, be a man, be a strong woman. I mean, like, buck up, okay? I had it much harder than you. That's where you kind of blow them off. And I fail at this all the time, and I got to go back and repair. Blowing it off is we blowing their hardships off is us dismissing them because we think they're foolish to be sad, dumb to be crying, foolish to be scared or anxious. And many times we don't want to hear it because we don't like what we're seeing. Many times it's an inconvenience, and many times we think it reflects us poorly. When your kids are anxious, when your kids are crying, when they don't tie their shoes going to school, and you start to go, oh, this is going to make me look bad. This is going to make us look bad. And the easy thing is to just blow it off and dismiss it to try to comply and fix it fast. When we do this, we're basically saying that the book of Psalms should never have been included in the Bible. We're basically saying that God made a mistake. The Psalms is God teaching us that emotions matter, feelings matter, struggles, anxiety are real, and they matter to our Heavenly Father, and so they should matter to us. Blowing it off may seem right in the short term, but in the long term, you're creating a human who's being talked out of their feelings. Let me say that again. When you're blowing it off, dismissing like buck it up, suck it up, what you're doing is you are talking them out of the fact that their feelings matter, and that will come back to haunt them and you. We're teaching them that their emotions are stupid, and then we're making them feel dumb for having a struggle. Now, guys, pause for a moment. When our kids face pain, when our kids really face pain and letdowns, isn't what you want more in this world to be the one they come to and sit with and talk to? Don't you want to be the one that when they're hurting, they go, hey, can I come be with you for the next hour? Isn't that part of why you signed up to be in this game, right? And but when you're in the moment, it's just easy to forget it, right? Because it's a pain in the rear end. If you blow them off long enough, they're eventually going to blow you off. If you blow them off long enough, they're eventually going to say, you know what? If we dismiss their pain, challenges, tears, fears, eventually they are going to determine that you're the last person they ever want to come to again. I get a lot of dads with kids in college. I get a lot of dads that are teenagers. They're like, my kid won't talk to me. My kid won't open up. Won't share anything. And when we do a little bit of digging, it was because that dad was a dad that constantly blew him off, constantly was like, buck up, constantly like, stop it. And so the kid eventually just been like, yeah, I'm not going to share with you anything. The kid figured it out that I'm an inconvenience to you, that my emotions are an inconvenience, so they're going to go somewhere else. Is that what you want? Let me ask you again. Is that what you want? No, right? It's not what I want either. And I'm guilty of this far more than I wish I was. Okay? Later, anyway, so men, this is our chance. These moments when they're sad, scared, anxious, crying, irrational, these are dad hero windows where the kid learns my strong dad is also my tender listening dad who can empathize and be with me when I'm sad or when life is really not working. Remember, Jesus had the strength of a lion and the gentleness of a lamb, okay? Second is we try to fix it, okay? So we say things like, oh, Your coach isn't playing you. He doesn't see your talent, huh? Well, I'm going to give him a word next practice, guys. Or we say things like, yeah, if that coach wasn't all into daddy ball and politics, then maybe he'd have you starting, right? Now, men, ask yourself, is that helping your children build strong wings? Is that helping your kid at all? No. In fact, it's crushing them. And I've done it too, okay? It's just so you know. When the teacher gives them a low grade on a project they work so hard on, and you're like, what? They gave you what? Well, honey, don't you worry. I'm going to email that teacher. I'm going to email the dean of academics tonight, and we'll take care of this. Is that helping our kids? Not at all. Or, oh my goodness, you didn't get invited to the birthday party, spend the night. Well, I'll show you. We're going to go to Disneyland, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to teach them what fun is all about. And we laugh at this, but this is real. These are the things we do. These are the things we see other people do. And when we rescue them from reality, they never learn the strength to deal with the reality of a broken world. Let me just say that again. When we rescue them from reality, they never learn the strength to deal with the reality of a broken world. And I'll own it. I have made these mistakes. My wife has. I love my kids. I hurt for my kids. And I am guilty of this. And I've had to do way too many times going back to apologizing. Now, there are times we advocate or we mediate for them, but that's only after a lot of reflection and seeking counsel. And the key here is seeking wise counsel. That you've gone to some other men, got advice, and they say jump in. Now, here's the thing. I can't protect your kids from suffering. Let me just say this. This is what we're going to begin to wrap up on tonight. I can't protect your kids from suffering. I can't even protect my own kids from suffering. And Lord knows I've tried. Even Jesus promises that he is not going to give us an easy, pain-free, suffering life. But he promises to be with us in our pain. And so, men, what if tonight I could offer you not something to protect your kids from pain and disappointment, but what if I can give you something that can heal them from their pain? What if I could give you something that can make them stronger and stronger every time they face pain and disappointment? Would you want that tonight? Would you say, sign me up? And the answer is absolutely. And here's what it is. The magic pill, it's being with them in their pain. Let me say it again. It's learning to be with them in their pain. Walk with them, talk with them, connect with them, be curious, ask questions, be available. That delivers healing from pain. We now know, clinically, that pain, tragedy, trauma does not ruin people. Unresolved pain destroys people. Unresolved trauma damages and crushes people. And that is when we hide, we never talk about it, we stay alone in it, and we have nobody to talk to, nobody to ask questions. That is what does us in, okay? Write this down. Pain doesn't harm kids. Unresolved pain harms kids. I'm serious. Write that one down. Pain does not harm kids. Unresolved pain harms kids. But when a kid has a dad that he knows or she knows they can go to and talk to regardless how traumatic, guys, I hope it never comes your way, but the statistics say one of us in this room may have a daughter that gets raped. You want to know that you have built that relationship where she knows the first person that she can go to and talk to is her father. And I hate to put such a scary thing on the line, but we prepare for the worst, yes? Okay? And she wants to know she's not going to be made fun of, dismissed, felt stupid, but she knows her daddy can dive in like a lamb, tender, and go, I'm with you on this. I'm strong enough to handle this, okay? And if she does that, the statistical probability of her healing from that and not ruining her life and her actually turning it into a story to use for God's glory is off the charts powerful. Because when you talk about it, when you process it, when you are with somebody, all pain can get healed, okay? We come alongside them and we were with them. Many of you know my oldest boy, when he was 15, contracted Lyme and cat scratch disease. And it was bad. He went from this big, strong kid to this shriveled little raisin on the couch. And we battled it for a year and a half. And I can tell you, I kept blowing it off. My wife kept blowing it off. We didn't know what he had. We were saying things like, stop being so aware of your body, stop whining. And the anger was just building in him because he had this chronic Lyme disease and this cat scratch disease, which they send your body into just chaos. And we just kept saying, get tougher, be tougher, stop whining. Like, dude, you're a Turner, right? You're a man. And he is just more and more just falling apart and withering. And we thought it was growing pains. And then one night, the symptoms flared up really, really, really scary, really bad. And again, my wife and I blew it off. And then we started fixing it, same thing. And he finally, this is the first time I ever saw my 15-year-old boy do this. He finally popped in our living room and just screamed at the top of his lungs. He was only 15 years old. Damn it! Why won't you effing listen to me? My body is falling apart. I mean, and Chris and I were like, oh no. Oh no, this is bad. We haven't even paid attention. Like, and this is you know my son, he is calm, he is level-headed, he does not show, I mean, like, and we were beside ourselves that we had blown him off, tried to fix it, and now he popped. We quickly sat down with him, we repented, we repaired, we started getting testing, and that was when we found out, like, oh no, like, this is bad. And the doc was like, I just need to let you know, your son may be a shriveled raisin for the next 70 years of his life. That's how bad it was. We had no idea where it was going to go until we got in. I remember at the lowest part of it, I had just taken him to the emergency room. This all started to build after this. I took him to the emergency room 3 times in 6 weeks, thinking he was having a massive heart attack. On the third one, I called Stevie's wife, who's she's a emergency cardiology nurse. And I get her on the phone, she listens, and she goes, you have 30 seconds to get him to the hospital. Get him there now. Now, I don't know if you know what it's like to be sitting in the car, you're looking at your 15-year-old son, and you're being told you got 30 seconds to get him to the hospital or he could be dead. I mean, it was bad. And I remember the third time we're sitting with him in the hospital, and he's just weeping. And I remember looking and said, son, I want you to know I can't promise we're going to fix this. I can't promise that God's going to fix this. I can't promise you you're not going to have this for the rest of your life. But I said, but son, here's what I promise. I promise you there will never be a day where you walk through this without mom and dad. I said, I vow to you, I will be by your side until you're 70 years old, until we figure this out. Mom vows we will work, we will spend every penny we have until we figure out what is going on with your body. There will never be a day that you're alone in this. And there will never be a day where God is not with you. And it got worse before it got better. And I remember waking up one morning and my strong 15-year-old boy is shriveled up in the bed of my wife. Right? He's shriveled up in my wife's arms like a little toddler, terrified, just crying at 5 a.m. in the morning because his body was so bad. Over and over and over again, we kept saying, I'm with you, we're with you, I'm with you, we're with you, Jesus is with you. And God taught me a lot. I learned to stop blowing them off. I learned to stop blowing off the other kids. I learned I can't fix this. I learned to stop trying to fix this. I can't rescue them. There's 0 promises I can make to alleviate this. You know, and I had to learn, man, the greatest gift I had to offer was me. Just plain old, hypocritical, insecure me. Me showing up, me being willing to listen, me being willing to ask questions, me willing to be right by his side. And in time, that healed his pain. And it was powerful. But God did a lot of breaking in me through the trials of my son. And so in this 4 to 12 years old and for the rest of their life, we try to empower them in their challenges, and then we try to empathize in their hardships, okay? We don't want to blow them off. We don't want to fix it. We want to try to just be with them, okay? Last few questions, and we'll wrap up for tonight. We need to get to teenagers. We'll get to them next time. Yeah, Dave.
In that phase where you're trying not to blow them off, how do you still coach towards, hey, this isn't something we can proud about?
Yeah.
How do you not blow them off and still not let it be okay? Or
Yeah. No.
coach towards training on the right reaction?
Yeah. So Dave asked, like, when you're in that phase with them, like, you know, how do you coach them without shaming them? How do you empower them and coach them when, like, you know, they're crying when they drop a catch, you know, those kind of things like that, right? Stuff like that. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. I think it's everything you know to do, right? I think it's you have to kind of look at it. You got to kind of size it up and go, okay, what is this? What's going on, right? I've learned to slow down and not jump to an assumption so fast, okay? Like, so sometimes I'll immediately think it's weak, but sometimes maybe there's a valid reason for it, right? And you got to teach them. Like in our family, we say, men cry, turners cry, but we learn to cry at the right things. Men cry, turners cry, but we learn to cry at the right things, right? Like, you know, when you lose a game and you cry, like, I'm okay with that. I'm glad it meant something to you. But when you cry because you didn't get your way or you didn't get picked, like that's inappropriate. Like you're crying for the wrong reasons. And so you step in and kind of start talking with them and start reasoning them to help them form a filter of what are good things to cry over and what are things that they don't cry over, okay? And then sometimes they just will not listen to you, and that's where you just go, hey, I love you, but you're interrupting the family, so you can go sit in the laundry room until you work this out. And I know you can work it out, but you're not bigger than this family, so you're not going to interrupt the family. And when you've dealt with this, I'm willing to talk with you some more. Does that help? Okay. Yeah, I mean, just you have wisdom and discernment. And the way you as a man had to learn to go, okay, should I be tough in this moment? Should I show weakness? Should I cry? You're starting to kind of like give that back to them. You're starting to figure out what you learned. So part of this is you got to do some reflecting and going, okay, you know, how did I learn to be a man? How did I learn to be a man that's weak and strong? And you got to go take your own time. The same way you think about your business strategy, you got to do this with your parenting. And then you start reteaching him in those moments, or her, okay, what you learned, right? And if it's a daughter, I've gone to my wife many times and just said, hey, you know, our one daughter's being overly sensitive about this. What do you think? And she's coached me. I'm like, here's what you should say to her in those moments, okay? And again, if they won't listen, then you just say, I love you, time out, because you are not bigger than this family. And you obviously need some space to go work through this, and then you can re-engage us, okay? But that kid who's just weeping, emotions, and just taking over the whole family, sorry, you're not going to control the climate of our home, okay? Especially when you've done good work caring for them, okay? Does that help?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't say it specifically, but as I'm speaking, I think I've got to take anger out of that completely.
Yeah.
The reason I got to take anger, my emotional reaction out.
Yes, yeah. And, you know, and that's where we talk about the timeout, right? Like if I feel that anger boiling, go, hey, timeout, you go here, I'm going to go here until I can get myself grounded. Again, if you blow it, the anger, timeout, you come back, you repair, you apologize for your anger, and then you do what you wanted to do, okay? Because it is 50-50, my anger gets the best of me. 50-50, it doesn't, and I'm calm. But if your anger gets the best of you, time out, get yourself grounded, leave it with repenting of that, and then dive into where you want to coach them, okay? Yep. All right, any other questions on this? Empathy or empowerment before we wrap up? Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I probably my number one note
Yeah.
tonight was that when you said that my emotions are an inconvenience to my dad. So that impacted me. And
Did you hear what he said? He said the phrase that hit him is, my emotions are an inconvenience to my father. My emotions are an inconvenience to my father. Keep going.
So like I have a business, I'm busy. Sometimes I get home and like I just want to like just do nothing. But I got my 6-year-old, my 3-year-old, my 1-year-old. My 1-year-old doesn't really talk to me around. But my 6 and 3-year-old, especially, I'd say more my 6-year-old, but because he's like the one that's going through that wings thing,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Sometimes he's talking to me, and like we'll be sitting at the dinner table, and like he just tells me stuff, and I'm like, yeah, and it's just like going in through one ear and like one through the other. And how do you like the thing that I'm struggling with at home, I guess, is how do you show them, even at a young age, that you're valuing what they're even saying? How do I like lock in, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
How do you shut down everything that's behind you? Like right now, in my mind, I'm already thinking, oh, last year was a good year. Like we had a really blessed year.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about the Texans. You know?
Yeah.
How do you like lock in?
Oh, yeah.
Home and just like family.
Okay. So he's saying, like, you know, you get home and you're at the dinner table and your kids are wanting to talk to you, they're wanting to engage, and like you're just checked out, or they're just going on, and you're thinking, oh, I got to get this deal done, I got to get these taxes ready, and like it's just going in one ear right the and you're just like a robot. Are you with me? That's what he's asking. And how do you engage? What do you do? Yeah. I'd say a few things on that. Number one, I've had to coach my kids that they cannot machine gun me or machine gun machine gun their mother. Okay, and that is like, you get home, you're at the table, and they're like, Dad, what about this? Dad, what about that? Can we do that? What about that? And they just go, right? And especially as you start to engage kids and they know you love them, they like to just machine gun you with like questions and ideas, like one after another. And if you have more than one, then you're getting double machine gun, and you're like, why in the Hades do we have more than one, right? Like this was the worst idea ever, okay? And especially if you've had a long day at work, it's just like, it's like the harder the day at work, the more they machine gun you at the table, right? And they're good things.
And my wife's a stay-at-home mom,
Yeah, yes. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah. So one of the things I've learned is to take a temperature of myself when I'm driving home, and I'll go, okay, am I good, bad, or ugly? Am I good, bad, or ugly? Good means they can machine gun, bring it on, baby. Like you can hit me with a question, you can hit me with an idea, you can tell me like you pooped in the bed. Like I don't care, I'm in it. Let's go. Like my mental space is I'm good. And if that's in, I just come in and go be dad, dive in and go. If I'm bad, I will come in and then I'll start coaching them and go, hey, I had a long day. I'm really tired. I got a lot going on. And dad just is not ready for any questions. Dad is not ready for any, for you to share anything because I just won't be able to hear you. I'll let you know when I'm ready. Does that make sense? And I've just had to kind of coach them on that. Or we'll be at the dinner table and I'll just have to say, hey, stop. I really love you. But right now, I have a ton on my plate with work. Somebody just died in the church, and I want to be able to engage, but I can't right now. And so can we pick a time later today, or maybe can we pick a time tomorrow? Maybe when we first get up tomorrow morning, before you go to school, before I leave, let's take 15 minutes and do it. And so the same thing you've learned to do other people, do it with them. But you basically gauge yourself, and then you coach them of what you can handle or not handle, and then you engage. Does that make sense? Have any of you others learned to do that? But that's what I've had to do. Mario? Well, that depends on how mad your wife is that day. Yeah, I mean, you call her, she's like, oh, you think you had a bad day? Well, let me tell you about my day. I'm so glad, Mr. Pastor, that you're going to have space. I mean, so it depends, right? If she's had a really good day. Yeah. At that point, right, you just put them on a TV and just say, sorry, Lord, right? So, yeah, I mean, if you call your wife and she can absorb it, that's a great strategy. But if you call her and she can't, then, you figure it out. And again, guys, repair. Okay, if you find yourself being guilty of just checked out, not engaged, you go to them and say, I'm really sorry. Last night, Daddy did not listen to a word you said, and that's not who I want to be. Will you forgive me? But I'm ready to listen now. Remember, repair is always your best friend. Okay? It really is. The more you're honest with them, the more they love you, they connect with you, and they realize you're a real dad just like them. They're a real person. Don't be afraid to blow it 4 times and 4 times the next morning and go, hey, Daddy's really sorry. Okay? Does that help? Yeah, okay. Anything else? Okay. All right. Well, good night tonight. And then did you have something, Stevie?
Yeah, Tim's got a quick announcement.
Hey, real quick, reminder, Chad sent out an email. In an email, talks about Father-Son camping trip, Catalina Foothills, 3rd annual Father-Son camping trip scheduled for April 17th through 19th. There will be an option to stay for 1 or 2 nights. So some opportunity to get away from technology, get away and out in the wilderness with your sons. So the sign-ups for that will start next month. We'll talk more about that next month. And then if a couple dads can help stay and clean up all the stuff from dinner, that would be great. Otherwise, that's it. So, thank you all.
Hey, what's up? No, Stevie just pulled me. I just got done Stevie.
Yep, so that's it. February 17th. Next one. See you then. Thanks.